22 years ago. Soon to be 23. Hello, everybody. I am back for another movie review, and this time I'm going to review a film that is not very well known by many people, but at the same time, this is a movie that I think deserves more appreciation over time, and this is Strange Days. Strange Days is a science fiction slash film noir slash cyberpunk thriller that came out back in 1995 by director Kathryn Bigelow. Oh, there's her name down there. Hold on, let me see. Kathryn Bigelow, and it was written and produced by James Cameron. James Cameron wrote and did the story. Strange Days is basically about a ex-cop named Lenny Nero. Yeah, as I said, he's an ex-cop played by actor Ralph Fiennes, who has turned into a black marketeer as his drug that he's selling is basically virtual recordings of memories of people from the past, and the recordings not only allow you to experience the memories of people from the past, but also physical sensation, sort of like ecstasy, if you will. So yes, this is a kind of drug that, it's not the kind you inject into your body. It's by the use of an electronic device that rubs off on your brainwaves. So basically, it's like you're experiencing virtual reality, but with a more physical, sensational feel. So this is like virtual reality in a more futuristic way. Well, he's doing very successful with his business, but unfortunately, he ends up uncovering a conspiracy that leads to a prostitute's murder after he views one of the recordings, and he basically is trying to uncover the truth behind who is responsible for this girl's death. And as he gets further and further into the conspiracy, he ends up coming across a shocking truth that could incite the largest riot that LA has ever seen before. Literally. And along the way, and also he literally is love-struck because unfortunately his ex-girlfriend Faith, played by Juliette Lewis, has left him for another man. And unfortunately, he just cannot seem to let go of the past because he has virtual recordings of her in the most intimate moments they had when they were in their relationship. And as I've said, he's just a man that cannot let go of the past. And he also really good friends with Mace, played by Angela Bassett, because he had experiences with her in the past when he was taking care of her son when he actually worked on the force as a cop. So, yeah, that's pretty much the, as it says on the back here, he's an ex-cop turned street hustler, environment that will lead him in deep into a danger zone where he falls into a maze filled with intrigue and betrayal, murder, and conspiracy. Without a doubt, this movie really is a true one-of-a-kind film, and it's a real shame that this film disappeared almost as quickly as it came. The movie was released theatrically in 1995 by 20th Century Fox and by James Cameron's own company, Lightstorm Entertainment. But unfortunately, when the film got released in theaters, it did not manage to make a dent at the box office. Unfortunately, the movie was unfortunately a failure. The movie was made on a budget of $42 million, and worldwide the film only managed to pull in about a little over $8 million. So the movie was a huge financial failure and almost derailed Kathryn Bigelow's career as a director. Thankfully, she managed to survive and continue onward. I mean, of course, as I mentioned in the Point Break and Near Dark, two of the movies I already reviewed, she had gone on to direct the movie The Hurt Locker, which would get her the Academy Award for Best Director, the first female to ever win the Best Directing Oscar, and obviously wouldn't be the last. And obviously would not be the last one, since two other females have taken the Best Directing Oscar, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland and Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, who just won this year. The movie divided critics at the time. It was sort of like a love-hate thing. There were critics that, praised the film for its, moody atmosphere, and also the performances by Ralph Fiennes and Angela Bassett both were praised by critics. Juliette Lewis, on the other hand, she was kind of divided. as was Tom Sizemore's character in the movie, because, yeah, I forgot this movie does have a pretty solid cast. I mean, not just the three leads, but you got Tom Sizemore, Michael Wincott, who was in films like, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and The Crow, and more recently worked with Jordan Peele on Nope. Vincent D'Onofrio, best known from Full Metal Jacket and Men in Black, and even was in Jurassic World. And speaking of The Crow, the movie was scored by Graham Revell, who was the composer on The Crow. Interesting. The visual effects were done by Digital Domain, who did James Cameron's film True Lies and would go on to work on Titanic. Executive producer Ray Sancini worked with James Cameron on True Lies and would eventually work with him again on Titanic. So, Kathryn Bigelow was inspired by many incidents that happened prior to the film's release. I mean, obviously... oh, and I also forgot to mention, the movie actually takes place 2 years on the... right before the year 2000 is about to hit, so... That's something I should have mentioned, but either way, that's okay. Yeah, 2 days before the year 2000. So as I mentioned in the plot of the movie, that he uncovers the conspiracy leads to an incident that could incite the largest riot the city has ever noticed. Well, throughout that whole time, the city of LA is pretty much on the brink of total anarchy. There's chaos everywhere, and if that information comes out, oh yeah, the city could literally it would literally turn itself inside out, literally. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, I was about to mention that Kathryn Bigelow was inspired by two major incidents that happened prior to the film's release. One of them is the Lorena Bobbitt incident, where she was on trial for violently assaulting her husband. Well, if anybody remembers who Lorena Bobbitt is and what she actually did to her husband, I don't want to say it over on the video, but let's just say she castrated him because he sexually assaulted her. According to what she says. And the other incident is the Rodney King incident of when Rodney King was pulled over by the cops on a regular traffic stop, and they decided to get a little violent with him, which is interesting because when James Cameron was making Terminator 2 Judgment Day around that time, the scenes where Arnold was at the biker bar getting the clothes on the motorcycle, apparently right across the street from where they were filming those scenes was when Rodney King was being beat up. And I don't know if the filmmakers knew it was happening or if they found out about it later. I don't know, but it's crazy to think that actually had happened. And because of the trial, and I think the cops were ultimately acquitted for their actions, it incited the infamous LA riots in '92, where the whole city literally erupted into anarchy. People protested, violence erupted. It was absolute chaos. And in the movie Strange Days, it's kind of scary how life imitates art. And this is a perfect example of that. So, as I've said, the movie, unfortunately, was a financial failure, but the critics were divided. But over time, the movie kind of got a bit of a reevaluation by critics. It slowly but surely has gained a cult following. Right now, it's got a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm sure the more popularity this film gets, I guarantee you the ratings will go higher. But honestly, this is one movie that I think everybody should give a check out at least once. It's actually pretty well made. It's very creative. It's actually probably one of the most creative sci-fi films I've ever seen. Really unique idea. Yeah, there are some incidents and there are some moments in the film that feel like they've been taken straight out of another movie. I mean, there are many incidents. Since James Cameron wrote the screenplay, there is a scene in the movie where two characters are about to fight. One of them's carrying a giant blunt object, the other one pulls out a knife, and it reminds me of a fight scene from The Abyss, another James Cameron movie. And there are incidents in the film that make you think of films like The Terminator, in a way. Which is funny because none of the actors in the movie, I don't think any of them worked with Cameron before. Although Tom Sizemore has worked with Kathryn Bigelow before on Point Break. He had a very small appearance in the movie. But other than that, I can't think of anybody else that... I'm not sure. Alrighty, let's go ahead and talk about the DVD release here. Yeah, unfortunately, I only have Strange Days on DVD. There are some Blu-ray versions available for the film, but unfortunately, they're all Region B overseas. So Strange Days is another movie that unfortunately has yet to receive a proper release on Blu-ray. So I'm going to have to focus only on the DVD here. The DVD was released by 20th Century Fox back in '99, I believe. Inside here is the here's the DVD. Oh, hello there. Can you see me? Sorry, there I am. Yeah, this is what the DVD looks like. It's one of those. The artwork is kind of that is kind of what it is. Inside here's the insert, which is pretty cool. So it's got like, you know, character information, production notes about the movie. So it's pretty cool. I actually bought this DVD at a Blockbuster Video before it shut down. Hard to believe. It was a brand new DVD too, and yeah, when I pulled the protective seals off, unfortunately, it ripped some of the cover off too. Yeah, as you can see on the front cover, it's got the THX Digital Master logo on the front of it. So yeah, it's when Fox was, almost every DVD that Fox put out tried to have that logo on there, probably to help sell the DVD better. The video quality on the disc, well, it is what you expect for a DVD. It's not terrible, but it's not great. It's in widescreen, 235x1, but unfortunately, it's non-anamorphic. And as I mentioned in my Abyss video, non-anamorphic means the image is not going to fit the entire screen. It's going to be like in a sort of like a window shape, almost, which is very disappointing. So again, with my TV, I actually had to adjust the picture to make the film fit the screen. The video quality on the disc actually is not terrible. There's a lot of detail, but some of the darker scenes are kind of hard to make out. There's a lot of crazy action in the film that it's kind of hard to make out the detail, especially for a DVD. So the image is going to be a bit, it's going to be a bit murky. But as I said, this is a very dark movie. Most of the scenes in the film occur at night, so it's going to be a bit of a murky film. But it really adds to the film's true nature, and I think it works out very well. I would say for the image quality on the DVD here, I would probably give it out of 5 stars, maybe 3.5 out of 5. As for the audio, this is actually a pretty loud movie. You only get 2 audio well, yeah, let's see here. Got English Dolby Digital 5.1 and English Dolby Surround. There's also a French Dolby Surround track. I listened to the 5.1 track on the DVD, and it actually sounds pretty good. It really does. The dialogue comes out very well. I mean, for anybody that's going to try to figure out the movie itself, I mean, the movie, like I said, this is a hard movie to follow, but it's also, as I said, it's a pretty lengthy one, too. If I can, I don't know where the runtime is back here on the disc. It's, oh, here it is. 145 minutes. Yeah, sorry, it's really small. Usually the runtime would be down here somewhere, but I didn't realize it was up here. Yeah, it's a pretty lengthy movie at 145 minutes. But believe me, it definitely needs all that runtime to get all the detail in. Overall, yeah, the audio sounds pretty good. A lot of great detail. The sound effects come out very well. The dialogue comes out very well, too. But yeah, this is one movie you definitely need to pay attention to. But once the plot unfolds, it becomes quite clear, so... But it's also a fast-paced movie too, so it's not one of those films that tends to drone on you. It moves by at a pretty quick pace. For the audio, out of 5 stars, I have to give it a 4 out of 5. This sounds pretty good, definitely better than what it looks. As for bonus features, there's not really a lot on here. Basically, what you get are a teaser trailer, a theatrical trailer. There's 2 additional scenes that were not included in the original release, which you can see individually. And there's also an audio commentary with Catherine Bigelow, but unfortunately, this commentary does not run the entire length of the movie. It only focuses on the opening sequence of the film. So unfortunately, Catherine Bigelow only talks for about the first like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, maybe not even that long in the commentary. So unfortunately, yeah, it's one of those. It turns off, like, you know, before you know it. So yeah, it's one of those. It's sort of like a partial commentary. Now, as I've said, there are Blu-ray releases available for the film that actually have more material on them, but they're overseas releases, like German releases. Unfortunately, the Region B compatible, and I do not own a region-free Blu-ray player, so unfortunately I cannot play those versions if I were to get them, which I no intention to, since I own a PS3 and that's what I use to watch my movies on. And unfortunately, yeah, it won't play in them. As for the bonus features, like I said, there isn't really much. I would probably have to give it out of 5 stars, maybe 1.5. As I said, the commentary only runs for about maybe not even 10 minutes of the film's time limit, so... And the additional scenes and the 2 trailers, yeah, like I said, there's not really much in the way of extras. So, unless you have a region-free Blu-ray player, you can watch those German versions. They come with a wealth of material, featurettes, behind-the-scenes stuff, loads of material. So this is another version. This is another movie I'm really hoping that, you know, since it's released by Fox, maybe Disney will put out a release for the film. Because since, like I said, Fox is some of my earlier videos, Fox is now owned by Disney, or hopefully Shout Factory or Arrow or you know, one of those companies can put this movie out on Blu-ray, give this film a proper release. So Shout Factory, Arrow, or Disney, if you guys ever get a chance to watch this video, or somebody out there does, get this movie on Blu-ray. Please, give it a proper release. It needs it. Just like True Lies and The Abyss. Although I've heard The Abyss has been announced with a 4K release sometime next year, so fingers crossed on that one. As for the movie itself, out of 5 stars, I'd have to give this a 4.5 out of 5. Because this is a unique film that is one of a kind. It's a real shame it bombed, because this is one movie that it needs to get more attention, because this movie is very criminally underrated. If I had to make a list of the top 10 most underrated films of the 1990s, this definitely fits the list, big time. Highly recommend that you see this movie. It did get nominated for Saturn Awards, quite a few actually. It was a nominee for Best Science Fiction Film in '96. Angela Bassett managed to win the award for Best Actress at that year, and Kathryn Bigelow won Best Director, making her the first female to win the Saturn for Best Director, and to this date, she's the only female to have won the Saturn for Best Director. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, of course, the actors all have gone on to work on big projects. I mean, obviously, Ralph Fiennes, you know, coming off of the success of Schindler's List, and he would go on to be Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter, and Angela Bassett would go on to be the mother of Black Panther in the 2 Black Panther films, and even had a small appearance in Avengers Endgame. So that's pretty cool. They all went on to have success. Juliette Lewis, yeah, she managed to appear in films here and there after Strange Days. So, yes, thankfully, they've all managed to go on to have good careers, and even Kathryn Bigelow managed to go on to have a career after the movie unfortunately bombed. And yes, even James Cameron did too. I'm assuming Cameron was supposed to direct the movie, but around the time Strange Days was getting ready to start production, he was probably busy getting to work on Titanic at the time, and he had experience with Kathryn Bigelow in the past. I mean, he worked with her on Point Break, and he had an uncredited cameo in Near Dark, which I tried hard to find, but he was kind of hard to locate in the movie, or unless his scene was cut out. But yeah, and of course he was married to her. He was married to her for about 2 years. So he actually had experience with Kathryn Bigelow in the past. But either way, like I said, the DVD is a bit of it's a solid release. I think it's a good one. Not great, but it is really good. The video is kind of up and down, but for the most part, if you can adjust your TV, it actually does look pretty decent for what it is. The audio is really good. Not really much in the way of extras, but if you can get yourself on a Region B Blu-ray, a German version, that actually has way more material than what's offered here. But for the most part, I would say the DVD is probably your best bet in trying to locate this movie. I think it's cheap. You can find it pretty cheap online. But if you haven't had a chance to check this movie out, this movie is highly, highly, highly recommended. If you're into cyberpunk, if you're also into sci-fi, if you're into film noir and action, you know, it's kind of like, it almost feels like the Terminator in a way, sort of like a futuristic version of the Terminator almost, because the Terminator has all those ideas too. Film noir, sci-fi, and action rolled together and put together in a blender. Strange Days is kind of like that too, almost. But with the cyberpunk feel thrown into it. So, as I've said, a highly recommended movie. So, this concludes the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will continue to make more videos in the days to come. So until then, take care and be safe.